Hey everybody, we're trying it new this week. Good to see you. Welcome back to Does It Resonate with You with John and I.
Coming to you live from.
Yep, right. From two different states,
That's true.
but still in the Midwest.
Right.
Anyway, we've decided to try go back to going live again. It just seems like we can get you get that out there to you a little quicker. Um, And we had a really good idea for John actually had a really good idea for today's conversation. And I think it's really appropriate for this time of year when we are all stressed and pressed and overwhelmed
Mm-hmm. And
and
cranky sometimes.
cranky. And it's really easy to forget kindness. So,
Yeah.
um, you read a little article,
Yep.
and I love that it's by a Buddhist monk, or that it's about a Buddhist monk.
Yep. I
So
do too.
give us a little outline on what he had to say, and then let's just go for it.
Let's roll with it. Okay. Yep. All right. So this was a post, and it's a post by a teacher, and I'm just going to read it because it's that good. All right, so this teacher says, several years ago, I invited a Buddhist monk to speak to my senior elective class. And quite interestingly, as he entered the room, he didn't say a word that caught everyone's attention. He just walked to the board and he wrote this: everyone wants to save the world, but no one wants to help mom do the dishes. And we all laughed. But then he went on to say this: statistically, it's highly unlikely that you will ever have the opportunity to run into a burning orphanage and rescue an infant. But the smallest gestures of kindness, a warm smile, holding the door for a person behind you, shoveling the driveway of an elderly person next door, you have committed an immeasurable act of immeasurable profundity, because each of us, our life is our universe. This is my hope for the new year, that by your smallest act of kindness, you can save another's world. And what I really like about this is that, well, it's that element of everyone wants to save the world, but no one wants to help do the dishes. And saving the world starts here. It starts with you. It starts with your immediate universe, which is the people around you. If you can start there, that's saving the world.
Well, right, and I see that, and I see something else. Um, everyone wants to save the world, but for a lot of people, it feels really big.
Yes.
And out of their reach, right?
Yep.
And
Correct.
so, um, let's tell you that the small things add up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
They
for
just add
sure.
up. So, it's really, now is the time, right? And it can be really small, an extra smile or an extra thank you when you go through a drive-through,
Yeah.
or the ever popular pay for the coffee behind you,
Right.
or I mean, just so many things, right? Like
Yeah.
it's and it remember what I say. To spread the light, you only need to walk in it.
You only need to walk in it. Yep. Yep.
That's it. You only need to walk in it. So, along with that, I wanted to tell a little story. I did the final. Everybody that listens, and some of you actually might have even been in the room at the time. Yesterday was the final dinner and a Mooney, and that is the Mooneyverse. And if you're a spiritual entrepreneur, you should look him up because
Yep.
he's amazing.
Yeah, he's very good.
And you can join his group for free, and then he's got some other things that are really really affordable and within reach for nearly everyone, I would say. And yesterday's, the first question he asked yesterday was, I would love for somebody to come on and not only tell us what they've accomplished, but what they've not accomplished for this year, and kind of how you feel about that. And I'm pretty famous for being the first one to raise my hand, just because I want the chance to get to talk to him, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
I just do.
Yep.
And I have adopted this idea of being vulnerable. You know, there was a time where if I fell short, I would never tell you.
Yep.
Like I would never tell you.
Yep. Me too. Been there.
So I said, and I'll keep it, you know, I'll nutshell it for you, but basically what I said was, you know, I signed up for a lot of programs this year, and I went through some of them. You know, not just the one I did with Radley and Mooney, but I also did angel numerology, which I actually finished, by the way, and have a certificate. But I did, you know, something with No Hassle website, and that was something that I had done the year before
Hmm.
and was trying to repeat it, you know, and finish it this year. And I said, and I'll tell you, I have content, I have Word documents, I have Google Docs, I have, you know, all kinds of things, but I have accomplished exactly nothing. And I said, and I just realized how thin it really took me until November of this year to understand how thin I was stretched and just how much I had on my plate. And I'm not going to go into, you know, anybody that knows me kind of knows what's been going on. You've heard a little bit about what's going on. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Yep.
But sometimes we don't understand the pressure that we are under until the pressure is removed. And then
Oh.
you're like, oh my God, like I had no idea.
Huh.
To which he replied, you know, Angie, and paraphrasing, of course, he said, but here's the thing, you show up, you're the first one to always raise your hand and have something to say. And whether you know it or not, that inspires all of us. And
Ooh,
I was like,
nice.
and then you can, you know, because we're in Zoom and you can see in the chat and people, you know, and the support that's there.
Oh, nice. That's beautiful.
I know it was amazing. And
Sweet.
it was so amazing. And what how I responded was this, that um you know, I'm always telling people that you share the light, you spread the light by walking in it. And now here you are telling me that I practice what I preach, basically, which is amazing, right? Like it's like the ultimate. So I got to the end of the year, didn't get any of the things I wanted to do accomplished. I've managed to do a few, you know, collaborations, and we've done some fun things and whatever. And I feel like a lot of us are in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
And 2023 was really hard.
Yeah.
2023 was the hardest year ever. I don't know why, but it was really hard for me. 2020 was a breeze compared to this 2023.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, real weird. And so if you connect yourself to that light, if you connect yourself to that kindness, if you connect yourself to that gratitude and hold on to it like a thread or a rope, right? And just continue pulling yourself forward, it will stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably what kept me, you know, from falling into the depths or joining my husband, the hermit, or, you know, I mean, it's just amazing. So while you are, and I do these things, I talk about. I make sure to give an extra smile when I get a cup of coffee, or say a heartfelt thank you, or when I had to go to the grocery store on Thanksgiving, I said, you know, I know it really stinks being here, but I'm here to tell you I'm so grateful that you are.
Oh,
You
nice.
know,
Yeah.
those things. I practice that. I do that. And what I didn't realize, you know, because you think about the ripple that it creates, the ripple that it creates, right? The
Yeah.
ripple effect.
Yep.
But I always thought of the other person as the pebble, but really I'm the pebble,
Ah, nice. Yeah.
right? And the other person is the next ripple, you
Right.
know, like.
Yep.
And so when you brought this out today, it was so profound. Um And boy, wouldn't every mom love help with the dishes, right?
Right. Right.
But I
Or
think there's something else too to that. You could help mom with the dishes because you're forced to, right?
which is different.
Which is different from
Yeah.
wanting to, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the point is that you wanting to change the world, you start small. You start with the little things that you do have control over, and it ripples out from there.
And you may never know.
Right. How far that ripple's gone.
Right. You may never know. And you have to be okay with that,
Yep.
right? You have to be okay
Yep.
with that. And um I mean, not everybody's cut out to do those big, huge things.
Right.
They just aren't.
I have a favorite quote from Woody Allen, and everyone's heard this quote. He says 90% of life is showing up, and then he goes off to say how he in his in his many jobs, especially when he was younger, all he did was show up. But
Well,
which is
there is that, right?
right, which makes it funny. But the point of the quote is that most people don't even do that, right? So a
No.
funny example, when I was a kid, I had a busboy job at a local restaurant. And, I was brought up in this very Midwestern work ethic. And I came in to work one time and my manager said, "Hey, can you work 2 shifts today? Jeff didn't show up." And I'm like, "What do you mean he didn't show up?" Like, "No, he was scheduled and he didn't come." I'm like, "People do that?"
Right?
Right. And, older and wiser is like, yeah, a lot of people just don't show up. And so, the to get ahead, if you just show up, you're probably ahead of most people. But then there's that one step further, like I'm going to show up and I'm going to drop that pebble in the pond and ripple out that,
Right?
yeah.
It's possible when you do something like that, if you're very fortunate and have spent the time understanding how to connect to energy and what's around you,
Mhm.
which is possible for everybody to do. Nobody is special enough that they are the only ones that can do it. Everybody can do this, but not everybody can necessarily get still enough to do it without a lot of practice.
Right. I agree with that.
But it is possible every once in a while to do something like that and to close your eyes and to feel the ripples.
Hmm.
Sometimes it can just happen. Or if you're very fortunate, you can see it happen in front of you.
Cool.
I mean, I recall an incident it was actually with a cup of coffee, which I had asked for. I thought no, I did ask for with cream, but it got rung up as black. However that happened, and I didn't catch it. You know how they show
Sure.
you on, you know, probably the one time they didn't say to me, if everything is correct on the screen, which prompts me to look. So I got to the window and I said, he handed it to me and I said, there's supposed to be cream in this. And he got a little, and I said, and then he went and read it and said it said black. I said, I'm really sorry. I did not catch that. So he took it and he poured a little out and he put the cream in and he handed it back to me. And I could see, like the tension
Right.
in it. And he handed it to me and I said, thank you so much. I'm so sorry for making that mistake. Thank you so much for fixing it for me. And I saw it. I saw it melt.
Yep.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it. And he was like, no problem. And which I really hate no problem as a response to thank you. But in this case, I was like, okay, I'll take it.
We'll take it. Yeah.
But I watched it happen. And so if you pay attention, right?
Hmm.
And you do those small little things, because it was no big deal. I just didn't act like an ass.
Right.
Right? That's
Right.
all I did.
Right.
Like I took ownership of the mistake that I made
Hmm.
and I didn't act like a jerk. That's it.
Why is it so hard for people not to be jerks?
I know, right? I know, and I've been given that some thought, because we could all do with more kindness and all that in our lives. And
Yeah.
I've had the occasion to watch some programs that, stupid things on TV, just kind of in the background while I'm doing whatever. And when I was taught, when I first started with energy work, and I was told by the teacher, and I wanted to hit her. I wanted to hit her so bad. When I was told that your triggers are about you, they're not about the person triggering you. They're about you.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're about the other person acting like an idiot, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was so, I was just, so I was that person, right? Like, I'm not that person anymore, but I was that person that would.
Right. You'd get triggered and you'd be all over the person who triggered you.
Right.
Yep.
And, you know, and the truth is, I'm not completely, I still have issues with that at home, but at least I have gotten to the place, and especially with therapy and everything else, where I can understand what's happening. So it's really important, in a situation like that, like, um, I've known people that have, every time they go to a store, it's a problem. There's a problem. For me, the only time I have a problem at the store is when I pretend I work there and try to check myself out. I don't have a job in the joint, so I'm gonna just start going to the people that actually work there. Just
Right.
keep it that way.
Seems pretty simple, right?
I know, right? But when you start to understand that, and you start to look at those triggers and say, wow, why did that make me feel that way? And then you trace it back to, uh, you know, your parents telling you to quit crying, or you'll have something to cry about, or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting how much easier it is to show up with those little acts of kindness.
Yeah. You know
Because
what?
you can start to understand.
So I mentioned before we started recording that I got a deck here from Byron Katie. And what you just said reminded me of one of the cards, or one of her famous phrases, where she says, if I think that you are my problem, I'm insane. That's the same exact thing about the trigger, right? If
Yeah,
if you are the problem,
I don't think I would go so far as to say I'm insane, but yes.
true. But her point is exactly what you just said about the trigger. Your triggers about, or my triggers are about me. They're not about the other person. It's here. Here's where the problem is, right here.
That's it. That's it.
And I
I
think
mean,
if people can acknowledge that, all of life gets simpler.
what is happening here? There we go. Oh
Life
no.
gets simpler once that truth is acknowledged and you live that way.
It really does. And it's really interesting that it's not just about like one trigger. There's a lot of things that trigger you. Okay, for example, I don't know, we have, for some reason, in this county, they have decided that roundabouts are needed everywhere. I don't know why, but we apparently need them everywhere. I hate them
Okay.
because I don't trust anyone. I don't trust anybody to turn when they have a signal on. Like, I trust no one. But I've had people do things like make a U-turn around me
Oh my God.
while
Right.
I'm,
Around. Right.
yeah, like we're in a double left lane. I'm on the inside, and this guy makes a U-turn around me. Like, if I
No,
hadn't
do
had
not
a
do.
flash
Mm-hmm.
of that was what was going to happen, I would have hit the guy. Like,
Yep.
so I just don't trust anyone. I don't like roundabouts. So we went through a roundabout, my husband and I, the other day, and he did not really care for the way that I did it. So he said, "You can't do it like that." And I'm like, "Listen, stop, because otherwise you're going to need to drive." So I've just
And
decided, I've just decided now I'm never going to take him through a roundabout again. I can do that because I know all the other alternatives. But I thought about it, and I thought, wow, where do I have to look for that trigger, right? Like, part of it is I just don't like anybody telling me what to do.
No,
So,
I know.
and that is
Um,
in my chart. You know, we can ask Lisa; she'll tell you that it's in my chart. But,
it's probably in mine too.
yeah, right.
There's
Like
some,
I
yeah, there's some car behavior that really grates on me, and I have stopped the car not many times. I've stopped the car at least once or twice and
get
said,
out.
"No, it's been. Do you want to drive? No? Okay. Then then I'll keep going."
Okay.
Enough said.
I one time a long time ago, and it was somebody else, not my husband, out. Just get out. Get out.
Wow.
Although, you know, back in the day, you know, like I, I don't I'm a little older than you, right? I'm old. I don't know if you're old enough to remember like late 60s cars,
Yep.
but they often had issues. And I had this it was a scamp. I don't know if that was a Plymouth or a Dodge or I don't know, it was a scamp. It was, you know, like a late
Yeah.
60s
Yep.
vehicle. And it had an issue with the passenger side door. And it would just like open itself
While driving? Wow, that is
while
an issue.
driving.
Amazing.
And of course it was back before seat belts.
Oh my gosh.
So I was driving down the road with my friend Pete, and I'm driving, you know, driving, and I turned whatever way would cause the passenger. What is that? You turn left, right? And the right door would open. I think whatever. I made it, whatever turn
Yeah.
it was that would make that door open. So I'm driving, I make a turn and I'm driving, and then I look like, wait a minute, where the hell's Pete? And I look in the rearview mirror and he's sitting there in the middle of the street,
Oh.
stunned.
Oh wow. That's
The door popped open. I mean, we're on a side street in a neighborhood. We were not on a, you know, like a 40, 50
sure.
mile
No,
an
no.
hour
I
road. So we, you know,
clearly wasn't
we
injured.
were in the 20s. No, but he was
Holy cow.
so
And then the conversation is, there's no coincidences here.
right. Oh my gosh.
You were asked to leave the car by someone.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. So yeah, so that you know those triggers, those things. That wasn't very kind to dump Pete out in the middle of the street. Oh goodness.
My
Yeah.
dad, when I was a kid, we had a VW van, and it was one of those cute little things that it was baby blue, and the problem was that the track that the sliding door ran on started to rust. And
Mm.
I remember him going around a corner one time, and that door just went kashoon and then went spinning off into the intersection. And me and my siblings are looking and like, Dad, the door fell off. He's like, okay. And he pulls off to the side. He runs into the middle of the intersection, picks up the door, runs back to the car, and shoves it into the van. And off we go. Like, okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that I don't know if you remember that we're going to indulge in one more car story and then we'll move back to kindness or
All right.
gratitude or something. But do you remember the Yugo?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it
Those.
was
Yep.
it was like the way that just about anybody could get a brand new car
Yep.
because they were only like $2,000 or something. I don't were they actually
And
made
worth
in
every
Yugoslavia?
penny.
Isn't that why they were called a Yugo? Weren't
Yeah,
they
it was
made
made in
in
Yugoslavia,
Yugoslavia?
and every corner was cut.
Every single so I will never forget this. I had a friend who was driving to so we I was in Schaumburg at the time. So there's you know, like there's a lot of highways because we're close on top of Chicago. So
Right.
if you're
Yep.
not from around here, we're on
Yeah, it's
top of
all highway
Chicago.
basically.
There's a lot of highways. So she was driving down this highway 53, which is not a tollway, but or an interstate, but you know, a
Yep.
highway. So I think at the time, probably 55 miles an hour. She's driving on her way to an interview. Her driver's side door flew off.
Oh my
She
goodness.
just she kept on going and got to the interview with no door on the car.
Oh wow.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I don't want to be late, so off we go.
Yeah, so I think, I think maybe many of us are safer nowadays than we were back then.
Yeah. Hard not to be.
Right? Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah. So, ah, I don't know. So we are closing in on the end of the year, but this is live, so we're hitting the airwaves before Christmas.
Yep.
I
2 days before
celebrate
Christmas.
Christmas. You celebrate Christmas?
I do.
I
But I
think
also
many,
I also like to celebrate solstice.
yes, me too. Which you sent me another interesting
Oh
article
yeah.
about this morning.
We should talk about that because that's pretty
I
cool.
think that was a really interesting take on it, and not really. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense to me,
Right.
honestly.
Yeah,
That
it's a
so
poem. So for the listeners, it's a poem called "How the Pope Stole Christmas," and it's written in the Dr. Seuss style. But essentially, it talks about, okay, all of Europe celebrated the pagan, the traditional celebration of winter solstice, and as the Roman Empire was pushing forward, and the popes were trying to push Christianity, spread the word throughout Europe. One of the things they had to do is kind of get Christian holidays into the culture. And what they would do is they would piggyback off an existing holiday. And so Christ Mass, which was the Mass of celebrating Christ,
wow.
was that holiday that they decided to put right around solstice. And they said, yes, Yule logs and Christmas trees and candles and gift giving, that's all part of what we're now calling Christ Mass. And they kind of piggybacked off of the existing holidays. And what I find most interesting is when you hear people saying, wow, they're trying to change Christmas. That's not what Christmas is all about. Like, well, actually, if you go back in history, Christmas piggybacked off an existing holiday. So I don't think you got a whole lot to complain about.
Right? It's and here's the truth. Christmas is now in the collective consciousness and it's not going anywhere.
Right.
And whatever that looks like for whoever is listening, we are fortunate enough in this day and time to choose what
Yeah,
we want to believe,
that is true.
right?
Yep.
I am struck again as someone who really pays attention to energy at how much I adore the energy on Christmas Eve and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You go out and connect to the energy of the world. It's still, it's peaceful,
Yep.
it's quiet. It is. It doesn't last, but it's amazing. So my issue always has been this: it's man trying to control man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the church. I just feel like there's a lot of, oh, what's the word? Hypocrisy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Just in the way that we treat people and the way that people are treated. And not wanting to get into a great deep conversation about that. I think that if we can all just give each other the grace to celebrate, I love, do you know who Janice Ian is? I'm sure. I'm 17.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She song 70s.
Yep.
Prolific songwriter, like up there in talent with Carole King and
Yeah.
all the others. And she's got a page, and I just feel fortunate to tell this 17-year-old girl that loved her so much that she would actually be able to see and hear her words. And she said something, she posted something about it was a Christmas thing. She posts a lot of irony,
Oh, okay,
and
good.
so it was a Christmas thing. And oh no, it was actually not Janice Ian, it was Captain Sandy Yawn from Below Deck.
Okay.
Anyway, she said, um, she said happy holidays, right? She posted happy holidays, and somebody on there said, "It's Merry Christmas. Don't forget." And she's like, "We have people that watch and listen from all over the world. So it's happy holidays." And she just let it go at that. And I
Yep.
thought, when have we gotten to this place where I don't believe in God in the traditional way that people in the church do?
Right.
I just don't. I never did. I didn't believe when I was a kid. I didn't understand it. It didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean I don't believe in the universe and in the benevolence of the universe? You know, like
Mm-hmm. And our
I
own
didn't,
divinity. Yes.
right. In divinity.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. So what if I just want to celebrate the
Solstice.
solstice and then use Christmas to give my kids presents? I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe to get a few. I'm all right with that too. Like I like presents, like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think that I don't everybody, oh, Christmas gotten so commercial and they capitalize and blah blah blah, whatever. You know what? I just that stuff doesn't bother me like
Right.
it bothers a lot of people, because it only affects you if you don't know what your triggers are, right?
Right.
So
Hey, I was just reminded of a funny quote I saw the other day. Here's what it says: "The war on Christmas cannot end until Christmas stops its illegal occupation of November."
October,
Of October.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah, I know. I love that quote because it just totally makes fun of that whole idea.
And it's, I mean, I have to admit that it's been some years. When we first moved in here, I decorated for Christmas. I love Christmas lights. I love Christmas decorations.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm here to tell you all that stuff is a lot of work.
Oh, right.
You know, you
Right.
know.
Yep.
And right, and you got a kid. So, when it came to there's just not kids around here and it's just doing it for me. And I either, I'm like a kind of all or nothing when it comes to it,
Ah, yeah.
you know. Although I think I could probably, if I was to just get the white lights, like white fairy lights, I could put them up and leave them up all year
Leave them up
round.
year round. Yep.
Yeah, and then I could just hang a couple of little red and green things and be all good for Christmas.
Done and
Um,
done.
but I haven't done it, and I as a grown up was still known to lay down on the floor and stick my head up and stare up through the middle of the tree. Like
Oh, wow.
I love Christmas lights, I love them.
Oh, cool.
Um, but this last, and it's been 8 years. It's not just 2023, but this last 8 years have been pretty hard. Fraught.
Yep.
I don't feel good. My husband doesn't, like it just fraught. And you forget to connect to the energy of the season. And the energy of the season is not, and Christians get mad at me, send me a letter, this is the way I feel. If for you it is about the birth of Jesus and the three wise men and the star, fantastic. For me, it is about the time where it seems like, for the most part, everybody puts down their swords and taps into the stillness of the day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So to me, Christmas is respite or a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the solstice is celebrated for a very different reason.
Hmm.
and it's about work, right? And healing.
Okay.
For me, the solstice is about the joy of the light returning, right?
Right. Because we're in the darkest part of the year,
Right.
at least in the northern hemisphere anyway.
Right, exactly. So on the, on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, and immediately the days start getting longer
Yep.
by
And
minutes, but immediately.
yep. You know what's really interesting? Here's an astronomical thing that I thought was pretty cool. Because of the way the ellipsis, the elliptical orbit is,
Hmm.
the biggest changes from day to day are right before and right after the solstice. As you get further
Oh,
towards the equinoxes, the changes are are much smaller each day. So
interesting.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I think in 2 days, oh, is it tomorrow? Yeah, it's tomorrow solstice.
Tomorrow. Mhm.
It is the shortest day, but you're going to notice a marked change a week later.
Right, in just a week. It doesn't take long at
Yep.
all.
And the same thing on the flip side over on the summer solstice. You get
Yeah.
that really long day, and then you realize a week later, you're like, huh, it's getting it's getting dark at 10 already. But around the equinoxes, the day-to-day changes are very subtle. They're
Interesting.
not as
That's
pronounced.
really,
Yeah.
real. I mean, really interesting. I mean, I'll be honest. I hope they don't do away with daylight saving time. I hope they do away with standard time.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
This. I would like them to change the clocks to daylight saving time and
And
leave it
then
that
stay
way.
there. Yep. I'll agree with
This
that.
was so hard. I am struggling so much this year with this time change.
Interesting.
I'm all out of whack. Like come 5 o'clock, I feel like it's 10. Like I want to go to
Yeah.
sleep. I mean, it's just been really, and it's only an hour. It's not that
Right.
big. It's really
Right. It's not
not
like you
that
flew
much.
across the country.
Oof. I don't know. I mean, it's probably, um, probably a side effect of everything that's going on with me, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and this healing and release and everything. So, anyway, so what I wanted to talk about for a second, because we have just a little bit of time left, is since it's tomorrow and this is live, so if anybody hears this today, do you have a practice for the solstice?
So I used to. One of my favorite meditation teachers would always have a winter solstice free call in, and she was doing this long before Zoom was around. Um,
Ah,
and it would be an audio call in, and so I would listen to that. And sadly, she passed away this year, so she won't be
oh,
doing it anymore. But maybe there's another. Maybe I listened to an old one because I recorded a couple of them. Um, and the other possibility is to find someone else that's got a nice winter solstice meditation that I'll listen to. There's plenty of them out there. So
yeah. I naturally, I'm gonna. I haven't decided. There is a chance that I will live stream something. There is a chance.
ooh, cool.
Um, but where I was going was it was something really interesting. So when I coach, I often learn,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And so the idea of using the solstice to, like set intention, release, and all of that. So what was really interesting was the way that it came up, and the idea that you want to release, you know, really for the things for the solstice. To me, the release is you want to release things that were heavy or dark,
Yep.
right? S- processes that were difficult, things that happened, challenges, trauma, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things that were hard. But what I came to understand was that in addition to that, you need to offer gratitude for whatever it taught you,
Oh, yeah. That's
right?
part of it, isn't it?
It is part of it. But in the interest, I suppose, of the law of attraction, so to speak,
Yep.
you want to make sure that you are grateful for the outcome and not the whole process, because you don't want to attract more of the whole process.
Oh, interesting.
I know,
Okay.
right? I would, because I don't really think that way, and so
Right.
for me to actually channel that information, I was pretty surprised. It's like,
Right.
so I went through
So
this.
just to recap, you don't want to say, "Thank you, universe, for giving me, you know, 3 months of illness." No, it's thank you for the lesson I learned while I was in that illness, and
And thank you for the
right, and
great
thank you that
result.
I've
Right.
I've
So,
gone
in
beyond.
other words, really, really embracing only the positive aspects,
Yeah. Okay.
which I thought was really interesting.
That is.
Um,
That's a
I
very
mean,
subtle but very very important distinction.
it's right. It's very subtle, but very important. So it's that, and then it's um set an intention as part of, okay, I'm gonna try to go through this quickly because I'm trying to remember. So it's that, it's the release,
Mhm.
it's the set new intention, and then it's also, the whole gratitude piece. But when you release it out into the darkness so that it can circle around and return to you transmuted
Oh.
in the light when the light returns. So
Uh-huh.
that's why you do it on the solstice. You let it go into the darkness. So if I do something, it'll be in when it's dark, which is in about 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yep.
really,
You're
20
right.
minutes or
It
something.
actually
But
is.
the idea of inviting it like a fireball to go out into the darkness and circle around and come back to you in the light in a way that opens up that space created by something you're releasing for
Hmm.
something new to come your way.
Wow.
I know, right? Like,
Huh. That's really profound. You're releasing something that no longer serves you because the energy will come back in a form that does serve your highest good.
exactly.
Wow. Okay. That's, that's worth putting on the ideas to embody list.
Right?
That is really good. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So if I'm hoping, they already tell me that I could totally do a meditation. I don't even need to think about it, which we all know that because I channel the meditations anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would like to think about it long enough to 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 be able to explain it maybe in a little bit more eloquent way than I
Hmm.
just did. Um, but anyway, so if you listen today, take a look. If I do a live stream, I'll live stream it on my page, but I will live stream it also on this channel,
Sweet.
on this YouTube channel,
Perfect.
so that we have it. And then other than that, I mean, honestly, we're actually out of time.
Well, bummer. It felt like we were just
I
getting
know
going.
it just goes so fast. So I don't know. I kind of like the idea of hitting, end stream and it going live, and
And
it's
and
live
it's
on this,
done.
it's done, right? Like, and we have it available for people. So anybody that's listening, if you celebrate Christmas, we wish you the merriest of Christmases. And if it's not Christmas and it's something else, it's happy holidays or happy Kwanzaa or Hanukkah's over. So um I
But
don't know,
solstice is
Mazel
coming,
Tov,
so could be
whatever.
happy solstice.
Yes. And if that is your thing, happy solstice it is, which I think is probably, along with uh the day that we put the clocks ahead, or spring ahead, the day that we spring ahead, and the first day I can walk outside without a jacket. My other two most favorite days.
Hmm.
But this day, that signals the turn where the days start to get longer again. I'm all over it. I love it.
Awesome.
So, We actually will have one more live stream this year, but John, can you imagine? This has been a whole year.
A whole year. Yep.
We've been doing this for a whole year. I don't think it went where we thought it was going to go, but I have to tell you that it's one of the things I most look forward to every week.
Me too.
So I appreciate it. And we appreciate you listeners. I
Yeah.
know that there are some of you that listen often. So thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, thank you for that so
Thank
much.
you.
And if you've listened and you're not subscribed, we'd really love it if you'd reach down and hit that subscribe button. Maybe in 2024 we can get to 100. So if you love this, share it, will you? Thank you. Anyway, so we won't see you all, but Merry Christmas, John. Merry Christmas.
Yep. Thank you. You too.
And thank you, everyone. And we're still going to do tarot time, right?
Tarot time's coming. Yep. Right now. Stay tuned.
We'll just do that too. So we will talk to you later.